Why can we not figure out a zone defense? Drive the ball to the paint and kick. Everybody else
Welcome back to the Targeting Podcast.
Yes, sir. Oh man, it feels good.
Everybody
to be
thought it was
back.
dead, but we're back. Whether you like us or not.
Just when you think it's dead, we are back. Exactly, man.
Back.
Good to be back here with you.
You're probably asking yourself, why were you guys gone so long and where have you been? And we can't answer that question for you. But you know what? We're back. We're back.
We're back, and we are here. We're back for good. We're back for good. We're getting back into things.
We're back,
and it feels good.
There was just so much sports going on. We're like, you know what? The people need targeting back. All 40 of our subscribers need targeting. So
we are sorry. We are really sorry that for the hiatus there to all of you, but we're back, and we missed it, and it feels good to be back, my man. How are you right now?
I'm doing pretty well, dude. How you been? How's Kentucky treating you?
It's treating me well, man. It's treating me well. It's been a great semester, and first of all, I've been going to a bunch of Kentucky games, and they're rolling right now. So it's been electric. I know you went to the UVA game the other night.
Yeah,
good to be at Division I schools, huh?
Definitely. Our other friends cannot speak the same, but no, that's how it rolls. But no, I mean, Justin, your Wildcats have been doing well this year compared to last year, and UVA.
My God, well, last year was horrible, and we got Oscar Shevely, who should be College Player of the Year this year. So yeah, it's been electric. Hopefully, we can make a deep run.
Definitely.
But we got a ton of stuff to talk about here. We got a lot of stuff going on in the NBA. Trade deadline coming up. And obviously, the NFL playoffs.
I should mention first, Hooley will potentially be back in the coming weeks. Just wanted to mention that before we start off. But yes,
he's doing well too. All the boys are doing well.
All the boys are doing well. And we can't wait. So we got two main things coming out today, NBA and NFL. We'll start kind of like NBA. So the trade deadline's coming up. Justin, you want to continue talking about that? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. The trade deadline's coming up, and man, there's a lot of buzz, more buzz than normal. I feel like around the trade deadline. It feels like a lot of stuff is supposed to happen. We'll see how much actually does. And obviously with like some of the big things being that the championship favorites going into the year, the Lakers and the Nets aren't necessarily the championship favorites anymore. And what's it going to take to put them back on that pedestal? Lakers especially. I mean, I guess we can start with them because Russell Westbrook is not worked out, obviously, and we haven't had a podcast since the start of the season, so we haven't talked about it at all. I know it's been a narrative for the whole season, but it hasn't changed. He still is struggling, and what happens with Russell Westbrook and the Lakers? What does it take, do you think, for them to get back on top of the West?
I don't know, man. I feel like at this point for the Lakers, right, I think it's definitely a divide. In the sense, let me explain that. Let me expand on that. I think there's a divide on the Lakers team between players so there's Russ, and then there's guys. I feel like it's Russ versus LeBron. They're on the same team, but I feel like they're disconnected, right? LeBron's kind of running his own show. Russ is kind of running his own show. And I feel like Frank Vogel is trying to like man the ship and bring them both together, but it's not working. And at this point for the Lakers, they really need to have a serious conversation in that, what do we want our point guard position to be, right? Because you brought Russell Westbrook in, hopefully to like bring your team a championship. That was obviously the goal, right? But I kind of knew, I don't know about you, Justin, I kind of knew this was a bad move from the start because LeBron's the guy. Like, he doesn't need a great point guard to get him to where he needs to be. He needs a pretty good point guard that can share the ball. Russell Westbrook is like absolutely everything else that they needed. Russell Westbrook is the main guy. And they should have known that coming in. You can't have two main guys, two superstars. Right. I don't know.
And like when they both rely so heavily on having the ball in their hands. And like you said, he didn't need that. What LeBron needs is guards that can actually shoot the ball. And Russell Westbrook can't. He needs players that can stretch around him. And I'm trying to I want to say, I don't know who the hell constructed that team, but LeBron kind of did. LeBron always does.
Yeah.
He picks who he wants to play with in on a certain level. And I don't know how they put this team together with no shooting.
Yeah.
Nobody can space. And I don't know where it's going to come from now, because the only things that they can really trade, the only things of value that they have is like Taylor Horton Tucker and like Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah.
And like, you're not going to get what you need to win a championship out of them in a trade. And then there's the Russell Westbrook talk, where the only thing that you could flip Russell Westbrook's massive contract for would be the guy like John Wall's massive contract, who hasn't played all year, but looked pretty good last year in Houston. The only reason he hasn't played is just because the Rockets want to get their young guys to run when they know they're not going to be a playoff team. So they might as well not play a veteran 25, 30 minutes a night. But he's still capable. It's interesting. Like, if you're the Lakers right now, would you pull a Westbrook Wall deal out? Like, would you pull the trigger on that? It's hard to say. Westbrook is he's still a good player. Like, he's averaging 18, 8, and 8, right?
Well,
efficiency isn't there.
It's hard to say. The reason why it's hard to say, I feel like, is because there's obviously a team problem going on, but there's also another problem where I think we lost Justin a little bit, or
no, I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
All good. It could have been me. Can you still hear me?
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm back for good now. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. I think that was my bad. Can you still hear me?
Yeah. I'm good. Go ahead.
That's my bad. But what I was saying is, it's tough right now because you're right. Russ is playing very, very well. The problem is you don't really know right now. I mean, I'm kind of aware it's a player problem, but you also don't know if it's like a Frank Vogel problem, right? Like I'm like I think we're all 90% sure that like, Russ is the toxin. It's been the toxin for like a bunch of other teams. So you can't even say that Frank Vogel's not a factor. But that being said, I don't think Frank Vogel is doing a great job of like communicating with the team. He came out with the statement of when they benched Russ, they were like, why was that the move? He's like, we're just doing whatever we win. We're just trying to do whatever we can to win the game. And with a statement like that, there's so many better ways to say what he said. Like, that might be true, but you don't have to diss the question, which was, why did you bench Russ? It wasn't why you benched fucking, Austin Reeves or something. It's why you benched Russ. So,
who, by the way, Austin Reeves is the only shooter on the entire roster, but it's crazy. Like, how are you going to rely on
the Lakers need? Yeah, what the Lakers need right now is they need LeBron as the main guy, and LeBron needs a bunch of average NBA players that are good shooters. They might not be the best at ball handling, rebounding, whatever, but they just need a bunch of well-rounded shooters, like you said, that LeBron can just go in the lane. If he wants to dunk, he can dunk. If he doesn't want to kick it out, beautiful, bang, bang. But like, the last thing they need is a bunch of big names, in my opinion. Like, LeBron is the big name. He still is. Like, he hasn't gotten out of his prime, at least not now. So all you need now is just a couple of average shooters, not average, like average NBA players who are good shooters. And then I think you can get this team back on track, because right now what you're trying to do is you're trying to assemble that big three again. That's what I feel is going on, which they're trying to like get the big three, Russ, LeBron, and I don't even know who the third guy would be on that team, but
AD. But he's just been out. And they actually just got Anthony Davis back, so we'll see. And they beat the Nets. He's been back one game, so I mean, you never know. Maybe have an AD back, who also AD was not anything special before he left. Like, so it's hard to say. Like, AD, I think with Anthony Davis, like, I don't ever see a sense of urgency with him. I don't know. He's always playing like, he just plays like
he doesn't really have
we don't need to win this one. Why would you say that? Like, what kind of attitude is that? I surely wouldn't want that. It's crazy that with LeBron playing at the level he's playing at, LeBron's having a ridiculous year. He's 0.3 points behind Kevin Durant for the leading scorer in the league. He's literally averaging 29 and like 8, and like, he's going nuts. He's had 25 plus in like 20 games in a row. He's having an MVP type season, and they're barely in the playoff picture. How is that even possible? Like, with this, I think it's just about the way that they've constructed the roster. I think if I'm the Lakers, and this may be a hot take, I would trade for John Wall. I would trade Westbrook for John Wall. From what we saw with John Wall in Houston last year and what we know he can be, I just think he'd be a better fit. I don't think he's going to put up 18, 8, and 8. I don't think that you don't need the numbers. You don't need the pure stats that Westbrook gives you. He's done that for every team he's ever played on, and he never won anything. John Wall is a guy that isn't going to try to jack up 25 shots a night. He's not going to take a bunch of threes if they're not falling. He doesn't just keep shooting until he just makes one. Russell Westbrook is so like that, where he's just, I'm just going to keep going and going and going and going. And he ends up 1 for 18 on a certain night. Like John Wall would never do that. He'll start playing. He'll look for others. He'll make better plays for those around him. And I think he's a better shooter. He's not a good shooter at all, but like by any means, but I think he is a better shooter than Westbrook. He can make another 3 or 2 in a game more than Westbrook could. I would personally, it might be crazy because of how big Wall's contract is. Yeah. I personally do it.
I would do it too. Wall's just a better. He's a guy. They're both all around players, Russell Westbrook and John Wall, in my opinion. And I think that. But the difference between the two players is John Wall doesn't need the ball in his hands to do something, in my opinion.
Right.
He can still be a big impact in the game, but he's not this guy that, like, if he's in the corner, you're like, you need to give it to John Wall. Like, Russell Westbrook is very much that guy where, like, when he's on the floor and the ball's not in his hands, there is a problem. Not that there should be, but there is. And I feel like with John Wall, at least
Russell Westbrook sitting in the corner is like playing 5-on-4. There's no point in having him on the
floor. Exactly. No, I agree.
Yeah.
So, but John Wall is definitely a guy who, you're right, who's still got like a solid career ahead of him. Someone who, you know, like isn't the greatest NBA player in the world, but is exactly the type of guy you need to kind of get this team back together. I agree with you on the AD statement, the spirit thing, but to be totally honest, that's been a problem I've been seeing going on in the entire league. Even with our own Boston Celtics. Only recently have we really seen them kind of, you know, show a little bit of, you know, spirit and everything. I don't know what it is, but in the NBA, there just seems like the teams that really, like, you know, have that spirit. Like, I'm trying to think of a better, like that Kevin Garnett spirit where you just got to friggin' win at all costs. There doesn't seem like there's a lot of teams like that are having that type of spirit. And I don't know if it's like a not competitive thing anymore where it's like the league hasn't gotten competitive, but I think the league's almost as competitive as it's ever been in terms of anybody can get what they want.
Yeah. Like I don't think anybody's selling per se right now. Like everybody just likes the roster they have and think that they can win with it. Like there's really not a lot of teams that are selling at the deadline, even though there's a lot of teams that are looking for pieces. Yeah. Teams aren't just like, oh yeah, like I'm looking to sell my guy. Like Jeremy Grant, the Pistons, like they're selling. Like you could say that. The Pacers are probably selling. They've been trying to move Miles Turner, DeMontis Sabonis, Karis LeVert, but the league is as competitive as ever. I completely agree.
What I will say, though, it's interesting, and we can move on after this, but it's interesting how these teams, right, the championship favorites, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'll ask. It's interesting how these championship teams, like the championship favorites, obviously, have come into the season, right? Like all the accolades on them, all the bets on them. And they can't make it work with what they got. Like you look at the teams like the Lakers and the Nets, and if you put that team 5 years ago, like you put it together 5 years ago, so same time, but just 5 years ago, just same talent level, you're just like, there's no way this team could ever implode. Like there's just no way. A Russell Westbrook type guy, LeBron, and then you look at the other side of Harden, KD, and Kyrie Irving. Like,
bro, 5 years ago, imagine those teams.
And it's just like, I think it's crazy how they can't even get it to work, which goes to show, in my opinion, there was one point in the NBA where talent was something, right? And I think it still is. Don't get me wrong. Definitely talent's still there. LeBron's still good. Russ is still great. LeBron's still great. Russ is still great. But it shows that you kind of need to be on the same page and be in the same attitude if you really want it to work. Because like right now, like LeBron and Russ are just two different ball players. Russ is a huge stat guy. LeBron likes to win. And they're just not matching. It's like same thing in Brooklyn. KD is a great fucking player. I think at the end of the day, KD only wants to win. That's just what it seems like to me. The dude plays amazing every time he goes out there. Kyrie's like kind of just like a Kardashian with the way he plays. If he's getting a lot of looks, he's fine. But like he doesn't care if he wins or loses at the end of the day.
And actually, James Harden too has been apparently he's voiced frustration about Kyrie Irving's part-time status, and he's saying he wants to test free agency. He doesn't like living in Brooklyn. He doesn't like what Kyrie's been doing. And now with KD out for a while, Harden's by himself for the home games. I know Kyrie could play on the road. Harden's it's pretty crazy, man. It's a crazy league that we're in right now. And like you're saying, like it's not just about stars anymore. Like depth is everything, especially in a season like this with COVID hitting everybody and one seed in the East. The Miami Heat have no business being there, because, especially knowing that Bam has been out for almost all the year. He's back now, but Butler's missed a lot. They've had injuries all over the place, yet they're the one seed. And when they're fully healthy, that team is really deep. So it's just depth is super, super important. It's been a crazy year.
Yeah, I think Harden testing free agency will be interesting, to say the least.
That'd be wild.
I don't know what is the right place for him, but I think it will be interesting. What Harden did prove to me this year, I don't know about you, if you feel the same way. So I was always worried that Harden was the main guy because, like, especially on Houston, he was the guy. Like, there's no doubt about it.
I liked it better that way.
You did?
He was more fun to watch. Not that he was ever going to win a championship there. So
what I will say though is he has proven that he can play on a team. Like his comments about Kyrie's don't even get me started on Kyrie, but Harden at least showed that he can play on a team with like other solid players, which I respect Harden.
Yeah, he took a back seat in his playmaking out of his mind. Like he's averaging a crazy amount of assists. He was last year for sure too. So I agree. And that's good to see. And that's the way he's going to win a championship if he ever does win one. It wasn't never going to happen playing hero ball. It was fun to see him drop 64 times a year, but besides that, for sure. Some of the other hot commodities on the market, like we'd mentioned, Jeremy Grant, probably like the hottest commodity. He's still young and looking for a contract extension. A lot of teams are interested in him. It's just a matter of what's going to take to get him and whether it happens or not. There's so many teams like a Jeremy Grant, a stretch four that can create his own shot and play defense. He could fit on any team. Like it's almost impossible to predict what happens with him. So many teams are calling Detroit about it. We'll see what happens with what type of package they can get back in return. But you have any place you'd like to see him in particular?
Not really. He, like you said, he's that type of guy that he can really fit in any system because he's such a. Again, he's not like a superstar. I don't think he's gonna create anything for you. You're like creating massive value for your team. But just another good guy to just have on your team to kind of, like you said, stretch the floor, play a little defense, run the floor on offense. So I don't really know. Like I would make a prediction, but I don't even really know where he would necessarily. Yeah. Because there's so much interest in him. I don't know. What do you think?
Like I completely agree. He could end up anywhere. I feel like if there are a couple teams I feel like I would go all in for him on. One being the Portland fucking Trailblazers. I know Dame is out for a long time. They need so bad. They keep saying they don't want to break up Dame and CJ. If there's any way you can package like Norman Powell, Anthony Simons has been playing out of his mind. He's risen his stock crazily. He's averaging like 26 and 8 assists since Dame went out at the beginning of January. He's playing remarkable. You can package a Norman Powell and an Anthony Simons in a pick or something and get a Jeremy Grant. All of a sudden, Dame comes back to CJ, Jeremy Grant, Nurkic still there. They need to do something. The Blazers are out of the playoffs, and they should not be. Like, I know Dame's obviously injured. It's just been such a down year for them. He keeps saying he's 10 toes in, and he doesn't want to leave. So if that's the case, Portland, you have to put something around him. I mean,
I agree. No, Portland always needed that. They need that other piece, right? Like we've seen CJ and Dame, and they're such a great duo, but you're right. A guy like Grant would really fit well on that roster because they kind of need that extra guy.
And they've never had a good wing ever.
Ever. So that's a good point. Yeah, I can really see on Portland. I don't know. Portland seems like to me one of those organizations where when they got something good, they're not going to take a lot of risk to make it great, feels like. You know what I mean? Like, especially since they've kept basically the same guys like for a while. Like, even test a trade, I feel like hasn't been in the conversation. You might disagree, but I just feel like obviously Dame's untouchable, obviously. But even like a CJ Nurkic deal where you could try to pull in somebody, I'm surprised they haven't even tested anything yet. So
at some point you have to. And like, I get that they don't want to give up on it too soon because when they both are playing together, they've won big playoff series together. They've had big moments, but it's like, it's been going on for damn near a decade now. Like it at a certain point, it is time to give up on it.
No, yeah.
And you're going to waste all of Damian Lillard's career and never win anything.
No,
and I agree. They're also in the talks with the Sixers, obviously heavily. Ben Simmons to Portland has been heavily rumored, and that would take CJ as well as Anthony and Norman Powell. I think they're going to find what they're looking for in time for the deadline. I know they say they want to make some deal because Embiid is playing so good, and they want to become championship contenders, whatever it takes to push them over the line. Embiid's playing outrageously good this year, but I don't see it happening. The other thing with Philly is the Tobias Harris talks, and maybe you go Norm Powell and Anthony Simons and picks or whatever, get Tobias Harris over in Portland. Then you have Dame, CJ, Tobias, Nurk.
Not bad. That's not bad. Yeah.
It's not bad either.
They just got to make a move.
They got to do something. It's really like Dame, but you know, we've all been saying for years now, like Dame, if he really wants to stay, he should just say so. And now he's repeatedly said he's not going anywhere. He's 10 toes into Portland, but in a way he's kind of hurting himself by telling him that, because they should be hot. They should have a ton of incentive to be like, we need a sense of urgency now. We got to go get something now or he's going to leave. But now they know he's not.
Well, if he was smart, what he would say is, and I'm sure he's pretty content with having CJ and Nurkic, and maybe it's like a ego thing where he wants to win with those guys. You know what I mean?
I think it honestly might be. That's a good point.
But at some point, you got to be like, look, I'm all in on the contingency that you bring somebody in. Don't trade CJ, don't trade Nurk or whoever else you don't want to trade. But you need to make something happen with like a stretch four or something, or I'm leaving, or I'm gone. Even if he doesn't mean it, like pull a Rodgers. Like just see what happens, see what can happen. And if nothing happens, stay, because you always wanted to. But at least test it. I think you're right. By saying you're all in right away, I mean, it gives the organization some sense of relief because they're like, all right, we don't really need to do anything because, I mean, at the end of the day, all they care about is ticket sales. If Damian Lillard is playing, I mean, it doesn't really matter to them as much. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what
yeah.
But
it's very interesting. And I hope we can move on for sure. I just think, there's a deal there with the way Anthony Simons is playing and Norman Powell with his money. He makes it a good contract. You can make that money work for another great player who makes money. You have a young player and a good veteran that makes money. That's literally the perfect package. And they have picks. There's a deal to be made somewhere.
Yeah,
make it. Go find a deal and make it. This is ridiculous that they've just been running it back over and over and over. But we can move on. I guess we might as well hit on the Celtics quickly before we hit NFL and stuff, because
I agree.
Celtics are heavily involved in everything, all the rumors. So
yeah, Celtics have been interesting this year because they're starting to win.
We're one game over 500 right now, so it's like we've just been at 500 all year.
Yeah, we're like a win 2 lose 3 team.
Legit. That's exactly what we are.
Yeah, there's games where we feel like we hit our stride, and then there's others where you're like, all right, why did we lose to why are we losing to these teams? I don't really know what the move is for the Celtics. I will say that, so they're not giving up the Jays, which is good.
Thank God, because for the longest time, basically the whole season, that's been the talk. The Jays need to be split up.
Yes.
The Jays need to be split up, and it's got to be it was going to be Jaylen Brown. No way we're going to trade Tatum ever. So there's going to be Jaylen Brown needs to go. What's the deal? Does he go for CJ? It's like, come on, we can't trade Jaylen fucking Brown for CJ McCollum. I mean, that's very terrible.
Yeah. So here's the thing. On paper, this roster should work, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree, but I think this roster should work on paper. Like, it just seems like it should. And here's why. You got both Jays, who are great players, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, the best duo in the league, arguably. You got a veteran in Horford. You have Robert Williams, the Time Lord, who's freaking was playing out of his mind. Marcus Smart, who's a pretty good point guard, in my opinion. Don't know if that's the right role for him, but he's been kind of playing it okay. Dennis Schroeder, I really like Schroeder. I think he works really well on the roster, just in terms of his play, his playmaking ability, but also on defense. And you got a veteran now, Horford. There's a couple of changes I think need to be made with the bench. I'm still not a Grant Williams fan. That shit has not changed since the pod.
Whoa. Grant Williams I gave him all the slander in the world when he was last year and the year before, and I was not a fan either, but I have to say I have come 180-degree flip. He has been lights out this year. He is literally leading the league in corner 3-point percentage. He's automatic. There are many times down the stretch now where I feel like if I'm watching a game, we're down a couple, I'm like, get Grant a corner 3. Honestly, I want to not, part of me wants to still not like him because he does boneheaded things and the fouling. And he instantly, oh my God, that's me. He's calling stuff out and he fouls a lot. And there are times, obviously he's an undersized big. So there are times where he does get abused, but I mean, he's not great, but I've changed a little bit up on Grant, but I agree with everything you're saying. Though. Right. Schroeder's been so good for us this year, dude. But
that being said, something needs to change. Doesn't need to be a trade, but something needs to change. I don't know what it is. Do you think it could be coaching? Let me ask you.
I don't want to give up on Ime so quickly, and I'm not going to give up on him by any means. I'm not going to not criticize him either. I do think coaching is part of it. I think that there are many, many, many times where our rotations are very sus. We should not ever be running certain lineups that we run at certain times of the game. You got to understand as a coach the significance of certain moments during games, and it seems like he doesn't ever really get it right, at least not often. And more than that, the inbound plays out of timeouts, especially late, are god awful. It needs to be better.
It just doesn't seem. It's not even that I think he's a bad coach. I just think there's not a lot of coaching going on. Period. Like,
yeah,
the amount of ISO ball I'm seeing is just horrendous. Like, move the ball a little bit, make a pass, because it feels like the game plan right now is like it wants to be a running gun, but no one's running. So it just ends up being like Jason Tatum brings up the ball, and then it's like we'll see what we can do with him. Have Time Lord make a screen. Let's see if something happens. Maybe a kick out to the corner, but give it back to Jason. Like, that's not the way to run a play. And not that it needs to happen every time. Like, most of the time, our best buckets come in transition. But when the defense gets set, something needs to happen. It can't be a screen at the top of the key. It can be if that's like a cut or something, but there needs to be some type of play being run, or at least some motion, because it just seems like let's everyone get back away and then let's just let Tatum go in. But to me, that just doesn't work, because then the defense goes in. So it's just
it's so frustrating how many possessions the ball doesn't touch the paint ever. It seems like for us, like we just move it around the perimeter and then we take a contested 3, step back 3. Like, it's, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And we still, to this day, we've dealt with it in the playoff series for years now. That Miami Heat series we lost literally only because of zone defense. Why can we not figure out a zone defense? Drive the ball to the paint and kick. Everybody else, we just are paralyzed by zone defenses. It's crazy. We go on a run. They call the other team calls a timeout. They come back out in a zone defense, and we give up a 20-2 run, and now we're losing it, and we lose the game. We give away games because we can't crack a zone, and that was Brad before, and now we're doing it again with Ime. Every other team knows that. A lot of teams eat on zone defense. If you're going to play zone, we're going to be splashing threes all over you. How do we not figure it out? We just pass around the perimeter, stays outside, and we end up with a horrible look very contested and it doesn't go. It's just
That's
painful.
what I'm saying. Like they need a just doesn't seem like there's a lot of coaching being on with that. Like
that's why I kind of do blame Ime.
That's easy. That's if they're playing a 2-3, you're in a 3-2. You have one guy lined up. Like it's just an even odd even thing. Like whatever they're playing, you just do the opposite.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard to do, especially at your athleticism. Like put Time Lord in the fucking middle, pass him the ball, he'll find something. That's it. Done.
Legit.
Done. But
they make it harder than it has to be. And it seems like that's the story of every game is that we just make it harder than it has to be on ourselves. We go on a run and we give it right back, and we just get paralyzed by whenever any team gets hot at all. We just choke and can't stop it until they go 20 in a row, and then we can finally decide, all right, timeout. We'll figure something out. We got to do something different. Hello. If they get 2-3 in a row, you got to call that timeout way earlier.
No, definitely. If something needs to happen, hopefully it's it doesn't even need to be a trade. It just needs to be something. I
think it does. Well, and here's the thing too, right? Is we both just said how great Schroeder's playing. Like he's going to be gone. The sad reality is he's going to be gone because he's on that 1-year deal. He signed. He obviously turned down that 80-something million from the Lakers, rumored, and he took the 1-year $5 million in Boston to prove himself, get his numbers up, and then go sign a big deal this offseason. And we're not going to be the ones to give it to him. As much as I do like the fit, I don't want to be the ones that pay him 22, 24 a year for 4 more years. So I think we should just trade him at the deadline to get something for him because he's going to walk in free agency otherwise. I like him a lot. He's done great things for us this year. So I think I think the fact is we're going to make a trade somewhere, I think. And apparently the Celtics, Brad Stevens has been answering like the most phone calls of any team at the trade deadline there. So I think we're going to do something. Me personally, I think he needs to be Buddy Hield. He's my dream trade for the deadline this year. We don't have a shooter. And you're not going to win a championship ever if you don't have that shooter, that guy that's just going to be a knockdown shooter. Whether if Buddy Hield comes in, he can start or come off the bench. Either way, he's used to coming off the bench in goddamn Sacramento. He wants out so bad. A lot of teams are calling his name. But I think we have a decent package. Like I don't think they wouldn't want Schroeder at all. So we'd have to give up something else. It'd be a Neesmith or a Pritchard or something. But I think you got to do what it takes to get a guy like Buddy Hield. If it's not going to be him, do something. Because the Celtics we've said we're not trying to sell and just not make. We're trying to trade for win now pieces and contend. So we haven't given up on the year or anything.
No, that's
so it's not like it's just a throwaway year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not a throwaway year. It's definitely a win now. Like, we trusted the process. We're here. You have both Jays. You need to make something happen. And I agree. It probably needs to be a trade. Yeah, I don't know. We could talk about this for days.
It's tough.
So it's tough.
We can move on, but we'll see. Obviously, the trade deadline will be coming up in 2 weeks, so we'll have many more trade deadline talks before then, the next couple pods. But
definitely.
Anyways, we can move on. But crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to NFL?
You just cut out for a second there, I think. But
you
said want to move on to NFL. Yeah, bet. Let's do it.
All right. So we should first talk about our guy, Brady.
True. Tough,
Let
me tell you, man. I thought they were going to win that one.
But I will say,
even down huge.
When I saw the 27-3, I'm like, oh man. This feels good. Yeah. And then they came back.
This feels good down 27-3. Low-key, I was thinking the same thing, though.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, I was 20-3. I was like, oh, all right, he's done. When I saw the 27-3 third quarter, I was like, it's Brady time.
Uh-oh.
It's Brady time. It is Brady time.
But and he did it again. He came all the way back again, but not enough. Well, he did do enough, but too quickly. 42 seconds or whatever it was is too much time. And, obviously it's a big moment. Leonard Fournette, they got the first down and he just kept on running into the end zone. And you're never going to fault the guy for scoring. Yeah, you never know. Like you get a goal line stand 4 times in a row. That happens, but if you just go down.
I think they were surprised about how well the last play went. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
My bad. I think they were surprised about how the last play, how well it went.
Yeah.
Like, they really crowded that line, and Leonard Fournette just went the other way, and like no one was stopping him. Like no one. Like you couldn't even like. So
Yeah.
it's tough. I do think the Bucs should have played it better though. The defense, like that was horrible defense at the end. Like Cooper Kupp, come on, we all knew he was gonna that was gonna be the guy he was gonna throw to. He'd been playing well all game.
Dude, for real. He's literally a Triple Crown winner, and they left him wide open twice in a row. And the first one, he ran a ridiculous route. He literally lost 3 guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was a great route by him. But the Hail Mary, that just caught him in the breadbasket. They had Antoine Winfield on. What is that matchup?
Yeah, that
Cooper Kupp didn't run around. He just ran straight. He's like, I'm faster than you. Wide open, a fucking 50-yard bomb. Right, easy chip shot field goal. What is that? How do you leave that open?
It was a tough game to watch, but the real question is Brady done? I don't think so.
I don't want to say it. But I think he might be, dude. All the talk about family, I've never heard that in the free retirement. He's talking about, I owe it to my kids to be at home. Like, I've never heard him say that. If he wants to do it for his family and not for him, I don't know. That's kind of concerning. He might be done.
As soon as he started saying Giselle doesn't like seeing me get hit, I was like, shit, this could be over.
Legit, dude. I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see. But I got a bag. I've never really ever gone into an offseason thinking, oh yeah, this probably is it for Brady. I actually kind of am right now. Like, I feel like he might be done. It'd be interesting to see.
It'd be interesting to see if he ends. That the thing is, like, I don't know if he would want to end on that note, if that makes any sense.
Right. It definitely makes sense. That's where I agree with you. Like, there is probably a good chance he isn't done just because he's not gonna, the GOAT isn't going to go out that way.
No. But then he was like,
dude, and imagine the storyline next year. 47-year-old comes back and wins another Super Bowl. Then he'll go out on a high note.
I mean, I don't know. I think there's a real possibility. It'd be interesting. If it is, dude, we gotta have something, man. Like,
something needs to happen. Some type of tribute.
Something needs to happen because that man is just unreal. But
and on that note, what is Rodgers done?
Dude, I don't even know, bro. Like, Rodgers just confuses me so much because I'm just like, he's such a great QB, but just never can get it done ever.
Well, and the other thing with him is I'm starting to really, really question his attitude. I don't really know what his big problem is with Green Bay anymore. Like, I get that they sort of wronged him last year, but at this point, they have the best wide receiver in football, Devontae Adams. They have Aaron Jones, one of the better running backs in the league. They have one of the best O-lines, if not the best O-line. Like, they have a great defense. I don't really know what more he wants. And at the end of the day, he lost in that game. Like, he was bad.
That's what I'm saying.
He keeps saying how he doesn't have enough to win. Hello, you put up 10 points, Aaron Rodgers.
No, I agree.
He didn't play good at all. And also the past few years when he's gotten eliminated, he said, man, we just need to get one of these playoff games at home. Up at Lambeau in the snow, no team has any chance. This was at home in snow at Lambeau, and they lost.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. He just Brady. Whenever Brady's lost, he's taken. I mean, even you saw it on his Instagram the other day. He took it to heart. He said thank you for, and he's either gonna come back next year, better player, but he always takes blame, which I like about Brady. He'll never be the first guy to be because Brady could legitimately be for that last game, be yo, I came back. My defense fucked up. But
for real.
Didn't. And Rodgers is definitely that guy where I feel he's good, but he thinks he's better than he is, and he takes it as you should respect me. Rodgers, you've never won. Has he won a Super Bowl?
He's got one. He has one.
You've gotten one Super Bowl.
Because I was thinking the same thing the other day. His resume is not that good.
He can't make it out of the NFC Championship. He couldn't even get to the NFC Championship this year. So I'm I don't know. It's just you're right. His attitude confuses me. And it's just like, I don't know what you do. Like at some point you need to be, you're the QB. Like you need to be playing like unreal. There's no doubt in my mind, especially now in the NFL, that the QB is the most important role. Maybe we wouldn't have said that in prior years. I don't know. Personally, I could have like put it on other things like defense or wide receiver, whatever. QB clearly now is like the most important piece to the team. That decides if you're going to win a Super Bowl or not. And I think he's taking it as like just deflecting the responsibility, but still taking the credit. I don't know. I just think it's weird with him. I think, I don't know. Well, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with all that. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think he'll retire, but I think he probably is done in Green Bay. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. But the other interesting thing is that Devontae Adams is a free agent. So if Rodgers is gone, Adams is probably gone too. Then the Packers are really fucked.
Yeah.
But and honestly, it'll be interesting to see if Adams follows Rodgers wherever he goes, which would be crazy.
Well, the interesting thing to think about is where does Rodgers go? Because like Green Bay is kind of a good situation for him, I feel right now. You got Aaron Jones.
Dude, they have literally you can't ask for a better O-line or defense. So where else? Like
you have a pretty good situation. Like I don't like.
And he's got a star running back and the best wide receiver in the league. What is his problem? Like,
you're not going to find a better situation. So I don't know. I think he's got to take a good look at himself, but you know him very well. You know what I didn't know? Not completely off topic, but not sports. He's married to the girl from
Divergent.
I didn't even know that.
I know. And she apparently, I was reading about that. She didn't, when she met him out one night, did not even know who he was. Did not know he played football. How do you marry a woman? We have to know you are if you're that big a name anyways, but
dude, like I was like, dude,
also, he's like a big Jeopardy guy. He says he wants to retire and go host Jeopardy. What? Bro, you were literally like competing for championships. Why would you? I don't know. I don't get him. I don't get him.
We need Danica Patrick back for him. That's the problem. When he had Danica, he was playing unreal. He was winning Super Bowls. He was playing fine. Then he goes marry the chick from Divergent. He's like, oh, I don't know. But and then let's end by talking about literally the insane game of Chiefs Bills.
Yeah. It has to be mentioned because that game was nuts. Let me tell you, it lived up to the hype because obviously with the quarterback matchup, the rivalry, because last year Stephon Diggs stayed on the field and watched the Chiefs celebrate when they got bounced by them, and it happened again. And both quarterbacks put up like 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, it was like 350 plus for both of them. 4 touchdowns each, just an absolute gem from both of them. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce both played great. Davis went nuts, record 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. Oh my God. Like, it was a crazy, crazy game. And really what it comes down to is the overtime rules. And that's been everything this week is the season was decided by a goddamn coin flip. Do the rules need to change? And in NFL history with these rules, the person that wins the coin flip is 9-1 out of the 10 overtime games with the rules the way they are. So it's like, maybe it does need to change. I think actually not maybe. It definitely does because there's no reason both teams shouldn't get a try. You have to touch the ball. You have to touch the ball. If you get a touchdown, the other team should get a chance to match. Obviously, they have to score a touchdown to match you, but like they should get a chance.
What I've never gotten is why they haven't just do like a basketball type deal where it's like you do a quarter, but you just shorten it or something like that. So instead of having like a 15-minute quarter, you do 8. I realize that could be a problem because you could just do like an 8-minute drive.
Right.
But if that's the case, then your defense kind of is just like not like cutting it. I feel like at that point, it's a lot more deliberate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that idea. Yeah, it needs to change somehow. I like the way they do it in college football, honestly. The shootout.
The
It's like
shootout's kind of nice.
I don't
too.
necessarily think you should start at the 25.
Yeah.
That's really close. Not in pro, not in the NFL, but maybe some yard.
Like the
both
50.
teams start at. Maybe it's a 50. Maybe it's 50. Yeah, and it's just a shootout. Go back and forth. You score. If you get a field goal, the other team can get a touchdown to win, or a field goal to tie, and then it goes back again. It's just a shootout until one person wins. Like I like the way that works. Like you said, with the timing thing. If you were to just play till the end of the time, whoever's up. Well, I guess that's sort of what it is. But like just shorten it. You could just have like an 8-minute drive, still one team catches the ball. I don't know. There's a lot of different things you could do. I think it just does need to change. I think the fact that teams are going home after a full 17-game season, months and months worth of work on a coin flip, that doesn't really feel right. But
it's tough because it's just like, well, why the touchdown? Like I get it. It's probably harder to do than a field goal, but then like, I don't know. For me, it's like you got to figure out a different way. Because originally it was good because it was just like you got the game done, which I think was the goal. Like they didn't want these ongoing games. But
who feels that way? Like if they actually listen to the fans, nobody.
But in a game like, but in a game like that, like go on. Like someone's got to win eventually. Like we'll find out whether it's at like 2 or 3 in the morning or like the next day. But like someone will win. So it's interesting. I don't know, but.
Like if they just looked at the MLB, the NHL, with the way they do continuous overtime and extra innings until someone wins, people like if it's that's exciting. If it's sudden death, like that shit's exciting. People want to watch as much of that as they possibly can. Aren't trying to worry about timeliness here with the rules. They do need to change that. But that was wild. That was wild. You want to make you go ahead. Actually, if you want to finish up,
I just think it was just a crazy game, but it was great to see both. All right, the Bills beat the Patriots. Like smacked him. So it's tough for me to say that Josh Allen played well, but Josh Allen did play very, very well.
Yeah.
And same with Mahomes.
I was glad to see the Bills lose because of what they did to us.
I was.
And their division rival. I fucking hate the Bills. But.
Yeah. But it was good to see Mahomes play his game. It was interesting to see, and we'll wrap up soon, but the Kelsey thing, where Kelsey literally called that entire drive.
Talk about bad defense. We were talking about the Bucs against Rams. Bro, how do you with 13? First of all, how do you not squib that kick? Like, oh my God, you would have ticked 6-7 seconds off the clock with a squib kick, and then they only have 1 play instead of 2. Then how they're playing like they had no timeouts to call timeout for that field goal. Why were you leaving the middle wide open and just playing the sidelines? They have timeouts. Did they not know that? Like,
the only explanation I could find for that is they were worried that Tyreek was going to replicate the touchdown that he did. The prior,
which, by the way, that was so sick with the little peace sign. He gave a peace sign to a defender in front of him. How cold-blooded is that?
It was crazy, but I honestly think that they were worried that something like that was going to happen. But they left the entire middle open, which I didn't understand. In like
crazy,
13 seconds is not a lot of time. Like that's very little time. That's the way they were able to get 2 plays off of that. Well, 3, I guess, if you include the field goal. Like
right.
It's crazy. Like
you said about Kelsey too, he told Mahomes, he's like, I'm not going to run the route you want me to. I'm going to run to open space.
Well, he did.
And Mahomes at the line, you can hear him saying, do it, Kelsey, do it, Kelsey.
Well, he did that. He also did the Tyreek thing. Did you hear about that? He also did the Tyreek
right,
thing.
yeah.
He was like, Tyreek, like, if they leave the middle open, cut in, and we'll block. And I was like, shit, like that was a great idea. And then
it was.
They literally did the exact same play. But I mean, just a great game. And but it's heartbreaking to see someone lose like that, and especially in a game like that. But I mean, I'm sure stuff will change, especially
a little bit of flashbacks to that crazy thriller with when Brady was still in New England at Arrowhead when we got the best of him in overtime because of the coin flip. And that was it really felt a lot like that game, actually.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we were on the right end of that one. Chiefs got him back. So.
Yeah. It was a great game to watch, and I'm hoping that another game will be like it.
It just cut out real quick.
Yeah. What
you like for a Super Bowl matchup?
Like now?
Yeah. Like what you think when I gotta just go. I got to go Chiefs, Rams. Both of them are just playing so well. Yeah. I think the Bengals are as hot as ever right now, and so are the Niners. Jesus, right? So are the Niners. Deebo Samuel's been absolutely incredible. but I like Chiefs Rams. I think.
Yeah, I'm liking Chiefs Rams. I think the Rams played better against the Bucks than I expected them to.
Yeah.
That 49ers game, I was kind of like, you guys won, but you won. But like it was not like how I expected you to win. Same thing with the Bengals. I was like, you won the game, good, but like you won by a field goal, like Chiefs are dominant, so I just think they'll automatically get in. I just think they're unstoppable. And then the Rams played well against the Bucs, so I think the two best playing teams that have the most likely chance are probably Rams Chiefs, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Hell of an episode, man. It's great to be back.
Great to be back. If you made it to the end of the episode, like and subscribe. And
subscribe. We back.
We'll be back.
Look out for us next week. We'll be back.
I'm looking forward to it. So, Justin, thanks for joining me, and peace.
Peace.